Welcome to the ARRRL Media Internet Broadcast Network.
You are listening to Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a podcast about Linux, open source, and amateur radio, for everyone. Now here are your hosts, Cheryl, W5MOO, Russ, K5TUX, and Bill, NE4RD.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome. You have tuned in to episode number 562 of Linux in the Ham Shack, the most terrific amateur radio podcast on the internet. Tonight will be our short topics episode, so we are glad you have joined us. Whether you're joining us live or after the fact in the podcast feed, we really appreciate it. And before we get into our short topics for tonight, we'll go ahead and introduce ourselves. For the On Assignment Cheryl, W5MOO, I'm Russ, K5TUX.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD.
All right, so recording a little late. No surprise there. Shouldn't be anyway. But we'll go ahead and dive right into it with our amateur radio topics. And the first one we have tonight is Yaesu gets raspy. Yaesu quietly added 3 new mobile VHF UHF transceivers to its website, the FT3185 RASP, the FT3165 RASP, and the FTM150 RASP. All focus on Yaesu's Super DX feature, which is designed to improve weak signal reception. While the feature isn't new, Yaesu has added an audio-digital signal processing unit, ADS. Shouldn't that be like ADSPU? That also activates when engaging Super DX. Engage Super DX. Make of weak signal reception. ADS is designed to further improve weak signals. Yeah, we already heard that like 2 sentences ago. All 3 models include ADS as part of the improved Super DX feature. Product highlights include, for the 3185, 85 watts on 144 megahertz, and fanless operation. I guess that's a good thing as long as it, has a nice enough heat sink to cool itself. On the 3165, you get 65 watts on 2 meters FM, and it has a front speaker. That's kind of a nice feature for my application. We have a vehicle that really can use front speakers, so that's always nice. And on the FTM 150, 55 and 50 watts on 2 meters and 70 centimeters. It's dual band as a mobile transceiver, and I'm presuming the M means that it's digital capable. And it has a detachable front panel, so that's also nice, especially if you have to mount in weird situations. The units are expected to ship from U.S. retailers in late November. This came from Amateur Radio Daily, and I've already seen people grousing about these radios where they're just like throwing stuff on the market that don't have any new features or anything, or don't have anything like super advancements or anything like that. They're just like, pick random feature of the day, throw it in the box, and then sell it as a new radio. It's kind of like when Apple wants to upgrade like every 3 months or whatever. So
I think it replaces all of their original, like they had like a straight 2 meter mobile and stuff like that that didn't have any digital stuff in it. So I think this is kind of like the replacement and upgrade for that whole line that they had of mobile units. So even the FTM 150 is not digital, which, well, beyond the digital signal processing, but it doesn't do, fusion or anything else.
Oh, then what's with calling it an FTM? I thought all the M versions were the...
I was surprised about that as well. I was kind of like digging through all the features on these, and I'm like, okay, they're just high-end, FM transceivers. Just, I guess, to replace, they had like an 80 watt one before and a 60. I think they had a 60 watt one as well. But this dual bander, being 50 watts on 70 centimeters is pretty stout for a mobile unit. But yeah, it had no digital stuff to kind of complement their, FTM 500DR, their FTM 200DR. But I guess you'd have to say that they already have those radios, right?
Yeah, I guess so. And I guess that's right. That's the D part of it that establishes it as a digital radio, not the M. But
Right.
it seems like, I guess the M is the mobile, and then, the D for digital. But these are all raspy, as we've just said.
They're all very raspy. Yeah. So they still have like the older models up here, I guess. The FTM 6000R, the FTM the 2980R, which was the 80-watt radio. They still list them on their website. So I'm assuming that these are going to get discontinued because these don't have digital either, and they're obviously superseded by the new RASP digital signal processing. The FTM 6000 is the dual band unit. So this looks like just a straight up replacement for, the 6000. You should now get like the FTM 150, the 2980. You should get the 3185. Yeah, 3185. And then I guess if you had the 3100R, you would probably get the 3165 RASP. So I'd assume that these are going to get discontinued off their website. They do have the I think the old amber displays instead of the orange one, except for the 6000 has the orange kind of display. But I would definitely see them as these are going to be the discontinued units.
All right, very good. Well, moving on from that, we have some information from the ARRL, and I guess we'll let you handle that one.
Alrighty, yeah, this is the 2024 ARRL Board of Directors election results. Yeah, so the National Association for the Amateur Radio announces the results of the 2024 ARRL division elections. In the ARRL New England division, Tom Frenay, K1KI, of Suffield, Connecticut, was declared the winner, defeating the current director, Fred Kemmerer, AB10C. Wow, I almost want to say AB10. AB10C. AB10C. Or AB10C. I'm still trying to make it a number. In the ARRL Hudson Division, incumbent division director Ed Wilson, N2XDD, hey, we know Ed, of Shirley, New York, was declared the winner. Yes, defeating John Crovelli, W2GD. Wilson ascended to the director in July of 2024 after the previous director resigned. He had been vice director since 2023, a position to which now he was appointed to fill a vacancy created when the previous vice director ascended to director. So a little bit of musical chairs going on there, but now Ed has secured his rightful place there as the division director coming up. In August, the following incumbents and candidates were declared elected without opposition. So listen to this, people. This is when you don't run against somebody, stop complaining about change. So if you're in these divisions, you have nobody else interested in helping out here. So Central Division, current Vice Director Brent Walls, N9BA, will be the next director. And candidate Josh Long, W9HT, will be the next Vice Director. In the Hudson Division, Vice Director David Gallatley, KM20. In the New England Division, the Vice Director Phil Temples, K9HI. In the Northwestern Division, Vice Director Michael Sturba, KG7HQ. And in the Roanoke Division, Director Jim Boner, N2ZZ, and Vice Director Bill Maureen, N2COP. In September, the Northwestern Division Director Mark Tharp, KB7HDX, was declared elected. That's one of the ones that had some question mark, quote, not my director out here. In the Northwestern Division, winners will assume their roles for terms beginning on January 1st, 2025, and their terms go for 3 years. And that, of course, came from an announcement from the ARRL.
All right. Well, at least it wasn't another, info breach or computer hack or
That'll be next week, right?
Yeah, right. Because they haven't got their IT infrastructure person yet that I'm aware of. So
the IT committee thing or whatever, too.
Yeah.
Action committee.
It's all still up in the air. Not much action in the action committee so far. All right. Well, that's it for amateur radio topics for the evening. So we're going to move smoothly over into open source, and we'll talk a little bit about the Linux kernel. So 6.12 has been released. It says that Linus has released the kernel because, he is the benevolent dictator of the Linux kernel. Quote, no strange surprises this last week, so we're sticking to the regular release schedule, and that obviously means that the merge window opens tomorrow, end quote. Who are we quoting? Linus?
Probably, yeah.
All right. Headline features in this release include support for the ARM permission overlay extension, better compile time control over which Spectre mitigations to employ, the last piece is real-time preemption support, the real-time deadline server mechanism, more EEE VDF, scheduler development, the extensible scheduler class, the device memory TCP work, use of static calls in the security module subsystem, the integrity police enforcement security module, the ability to handle devices with a block size larger than the system page size in the XFS file system, and more. And nobody cares about any of that.
Well, some people might. XFS,
sure.
That's pretty popular.
If you're a kernel developer, sure. And if you happen to use XFS, yeah, probably. See the LWN merge window summaries, part 1 and part 2, and the kernel newbies 6.12 page for more deets on the new upgrade for 6.12. And for most people, it will just mean that the number incremented. So, I mean, you're really not going to see a lot of, people going, "Ooh, I have got to get to 6.12 because of the real-time preemption support," or whatever. But, there's a new kernel out there, and of course, it will come along whenever your distribution feels that it's ready to implement. So,
if you're an Arch, it's probably, you already have it.
You probably already have it. Yeah, you probably have 13 beta at this point, but...
Mm-hmm. So, you're into test builds already.
All right, what's next?
So we have one here with lots of acronyms. So the AGL creates OSPO EG for SDVs. I figured I would go ahead and give it the crazy title. But the Automotive Grade Linux, that's AGL, a collaborative cross-industry effort developing an open-source platform for software-defined vehicles, SDVs, or SDVs, has created a new open-source program office, OSPO, or OSPO, expert group, EG. So there you go, egg. That's got a OSPO egg.
OSPO egg for the AGL.
Yep. Led by Toyota, the OSPO egg will promote the establishment of OSPOs within the automotive industry and encourage the sharing of information and best practices between them. Quote, historically, there has been little code contributed back to the open source community. Often this was because internal procedures or IT infrastructure weren't in place to support open source contributions, end quote, said Dan Cauchi, executive director of Automotive Grade Linux. Quote, the rise of SDVs, or SDVs, has led to a growing trend of automakers not just using, but also contributing to open source software. Many organizations are also establishing OSPOs to streamline and organize open source activities to better support the business goals, end quote. The goals of the group include encourage and help companies to launch their open source program offices, or their OSPO, provide a place to share pain points and solutions to resolve them, publish best practices for common pain points. This sounds like there's a lot of pain involved in this. Engage companies outside of the AGL to participate, encourage member companies to contribute code to the AGL platform and related projects, and encourage open discussion for challenging upstream first development model in automotive environments and dealing with business environmental restrictions when using open source, like export control and antitrust. And this came from a press release by the AGL. So this is, I think we had mentioned Automotive Grade Linux before at some point in time. I remember vaguely about crossing over a story about this. We may have mentioned it. I don't know. But I just thought it was funny with all the stupid acronyms and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I'm going to include this just for giggles. And it is interesting that there is a lot of vehicle manufacturers that are using open source software to run their entertainment or infotainment centers and stuff like that. And it's good that they are working together, or at least some companies are working together to kind of help share the love and possibly pain, which that seems to be the problem, pain of doing such. So there you go.
Yeah, and I know we have touched on AGL a few times over the years because it always comes up every once in a while, especially if there's some controversy about licensing or security or safety or something along those lines. And I think we even touched on it recently with the thing about the AM radio issue that was really kind of a non-issue, but supposedly it interferes with navigation systems or whatever. Yeah, just like cell phones don't really affect airplanes, but whatever. Yeah. You got to do what you got to do. All right. So what's next here? We've got WebVM 2.0. WebVM is a full Linux environment running in the browser client side. It is a complete virtual machine with supports for persistent data storage, networking, and as of today's release, Xorg and complete desktop environments. Ooh. Oh boy. Shouldn't have done the ooh thing because that just broke my brain. In an instance of WebVM, everything executes locally within the browser sandbox. WebVM runs on any modern browser, including mobile ones, thanks to WebAssembly, HTML5, and CheerPX, a novel x86 virtualization engine for browsers developed by us, meaning authors of this, at Leaning Technologies. Leaning. Not leading, but leaning.
Yeah, listing technology. Oh, wait, no.
So are they out of like Pisa, Italy or something like that?
Yeah, leaning. That's funny.
The first version of WebVM was released in 2022. Since then, we have been working relentlessly to improve the technology, and it is with great pride that we are now releasing WebVM 2.0. This new release keeps pushing the boundaries of what can run on modern browsers, thanks to a vastly improved virtualization engine, support for Xorg, and a new UX design. Try out our Alpine Linux Xorg i3 environment now. WebVM 2.0 is a liberally licensed FOSS project for anyone in the community to use, modify, and improve. This release marks another important milestone in our vision of running any application in the browser, including those that can't be recompiled to WebAssembly. So, liberally licensed FOSS. Do you know what the license is?
I think it's Apache.
Apache. Okay. Yeah, fairly liberal.
I mean, there's so many things that tie this whole thing together, so it's kind of it's a hodgepodge of stuff. So, but I think like the major components, I thought I saw the Apache license in there.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, coming, in the web world, I guess it's not terribly surprising that they use Apache licensing for this. Since it's all about web.
Yeah.
Okay, and that came from Leaning Tech. That is the company that we mentioned here, Leaning Tech. And the Alpine environment has a link in the show notes as well, if you want to check that out after the show. That sounds interesting. I'm gonna play with it. I'm interested to see what Linux looks like running in a browser. That seems like a kind of a cool thing to do, even if it's not necessarily useful.
Yeah, we should see if we can make it ham radio ready.
That would be kind of awesome, actually. Yeah.
I would assume you could probably do USB support for sure, because the web browser supports USB
audio and linking to devices and whatnot. So yeah, I don't see why it couldn't. I mean, you may have to do some dinking around and some shimming and stuff, but yeah, I bet it's possible.
Yeah. I would assume that I guess you could make persistent storage and everything else. Yeah. Interesting. Might be something we play around with and see. I'm not sure I'd really want to do this, but
so you're going to tell like what Chrome's ham readiness is?
Yeah, exactly. It's a Chrome ham radio ready thing or bobber thingy.
All right. Well, it's interesting. It's definitely worth playing around with, I think. So we'll see how Leaning Technologies has done with their little project here.
Yeah, I wonder how many of these environments you can run on tabs. You can try to see which runs out of memory first. Your Chrome browser or your system, 50 tabs open.
I'll be interested to see how good their memory management actually is inside of a browser environment. So
yeah, that who knows?
Exactly. If they're leaning heavily on the browser itself, it may not work very well very long. So, but anyway, yeah. So let's move on to our singular Linux in the Ham Shack topic tonight, and I guess this one's for you to cover because hopefully you know more about this one than I will.
Yeah, I saw this on a while ago, mentioned on a Hackaday article, and then I saw it somewhere else, and I thought, well, I'll look that up again. I was trying to remember where I saw it specifically so I can get a link, and then I was able to find it out directly from the guy's site here. So this is the KV4P HT. The KV4P HT is a homebrew VHF radio that makes your phone capable of voice and text communication completely off-grid with at least a technician-class amateur radio license. The radio simply plugs into the USB-C port of your Android smartphone and then transforms it into a fully fledged handheld radio transceiver. It's completely open source, GPL3. The Android app, ESP32 firmware, PCB designs, and 3D printer files. Since it's small enough to fit in your pocket and take anywhere, and since it has no internal battery, it's perfect radio to put in a go bag or your car's glove compartment. Note, the KV4P HT is an open source project you can build yourself and has absolutely no warranty or guarantees on functionality or reliability. That said, have fun, smiley face. Here's the features that they list on the website. Only $35 to build with 3 components to solder. 100% ham radio, always completely off-grid. Crystal clear 44 kilohertz 8-bit ADC DAC audio with filters and squelch. Texting with notifications just like SMS. Radio-based APRS messaging, not just location, with built-in 1200 baud modem. Scan through unlimited memories and groups. No battery means nothing to charge except your phone. 1 watt transmit can go miles, yet sips your phone's battery. And accessibility options include live closed captions on supported phones, turn off animations, and sticky PTT with haptic feedback. And this, of course, came from his website, the KV4P website.
1 whole watt.
Yeah, a whole watt.
And the QRPers are going, wow, 1 watt.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Why QRO like that? I mean,
it's like, whoa, boy, whoa. That's a hefty load you're carrying.
Yeah, it's interesting. Did you look at pictures of this? Because I did not.
Yeah. I mean, he has a full YouTube video and everything else on it, step-by-step instructions how to build it. Looks like you can get the parts, a mixture of stuff off of eBay and stuff like that, AliExpress. Looks like he had an update on November 12th that the original ESP32 we're using is completely out of stock, and the alternate linked above will work, but must be used within the specific U-shaped connector and or cable used below. So it does look like a little bit of part assembly and getting the right pieces and parts to work. So it's definitely something, if you're interested in doing, pay attention to the errata and everything else. And I believe they also have like a user group and stuff like that. They have their own Discord channel. Probably you can find the latest, greatest information there. But you can find the Tinkercad 3D printer designs for everything, including the case and stand. The PCB design is through Easy EDA, and it looks like you can order that as well. That's all published. Just clicking through some of the other links here. Yeah, I guess the only thing it's not going to work is if you have a Mac, right, or an iPhone. Because it's an Android app.
I do have an Android phone, so.
Oh, well, there you go. The app does require an Android 8 or higher phone. So pretty much, any phone that's been out since 2017 would probably suffice.
Yeah, and literally my Android phone does nothing. I mean, I literally just have it because it was cheap and I wanted it. So this might be a perfect thing to test out on it. So
yeah, a little side project. It's not very expensive. So
yeah, I mean, for $35, I mean, yeah, I would try it out, and maybe it will give my Android new life. Who knows?
Well, you can always use your RTL SDR on there too. If you haven't done that yet, that's actually kind of fun to do.
I've got 5 of those, so.
Well, you got no excuse then. You should be playing around. Get yourself an on-the-go cable and then play with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds like something worth doing. So actually, this show has actually given me a couple of things that I need to, new projects that I need to work on. So, hey, it's all right. I can live with that.
It's doable.
Yeah, it's doable. Not like I have enough to do already, but yeah, whatever. All right. Well, anyway, that brings us down to the end of the show. And unfortunately, I did not get around to doing the social media stuff this time. So we'll have to hit that next time, and we will do so. Make sure everybody gets mentioned. Want to make sure we mention that you can help support the show financially using Patreon and PayPal. Links, of course, are on the website, lhspodcast.info. If you choose to go that route, we really, really appreciate it. And of course, we will mention you on the show as a subscriber or Patreon, unless you tell us not to, in which case we won't. That's fine. Some people like anonymity. I get it. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and wrap up this episode, 562 Linux in the Ham Shack. And thanks, Steve, for being the one and only listener on this, for me anyway, cold and rainy Monday night. I don't know what it's like. I guess it's almost snowing up there for you, right?
It did snow today, a little bit, yeah.
Well, there you go. Winter is coming. So,
yes, I pulled the Beetle, the convertible Beetle, into the garage. So it's like I think it's done for the season.
All right. So the motorcycle's going into mothballs too, right?
Yeah, motorcycle's parked in front of it. So yeah, the Beetle has to go out before it can go anywhere.
All right. Well, we hope everybody has a great week until the next episode, our weekender. We're all looking forward to that, I know. And hope you enjoyed listening to the show. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap this one up and sign off. And we'll catch you all next time around. For the On Assignment Cheryl, W5MOO, I'm Russ, K5TUX.
And I'm Bill, NE4RD73.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Linux in the Ham Shack. LHS is a community-sponsored podcast. Live recordings are Sunday nights at 8 o'clock Central Time. Our homepage can be found at lhspodcast.info. You can support the podcast via Patreon at patreon.com/LHS podcast. We're also on Discord, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and Mastodon. Contact us via email at info@lhspodcast.info or via voicemail at 190954777469. That's 1909 LHS show. We also have merch. So until next we meet, remember to always heed your hedonism.